guys, welcome back to Strong Successful Male. So for today, I'm going to go over an email that was sent from a subscriber. This from a guy, sounds like he's probably in his late 50s or so, and he shares his story how recently, after 32 years of marriage, a marriage he thought was very good, found out that his wife isn't so good. That before they got married, she was cheating on him for like a year with his cousin. A cousin who, for all this time, has been like a brother to him, best friend. They hang out, do stuff together, play sports, you name it. So his whole world's torn apart. The wife, the cousin, the best friend, that type of thing. And, of course, he's ending it with her. Who can blame him? But he still wanted to share this story and ask us, if we think that's the right decision. Like we would say yes, that he should stay with her. And I'll be going to go over here, guys, just to show you that eventually things always come out. People can bury secrets down, but eventually it's going to come out. So it's best people are upfront about various things. And that's why so many times when you've heard stories I've covered here, guys find out years after being married that their wives cheated on them when they were dating, or the wife once, engaged in certain activities that the guy wouldn't have married her for, or has a body count that would make his mouth drop to the floor, or did PORN, or whatever. It's going to come out. So it's best you share these things. But of course, when these things do come out, these people act like they're all innocent and all that, or because it was decades ago, it shouldn't matter. No, because when people do things like this in this situation, the odds are they've continued this type of behavior all this time. But a guy cannot, once a cheater, always a cheater. And you can't stay in a relationship without trust and be with someone like this. And you have every right to kick him to the curb, even if people think you're the biggest jerk in the world. But anyhow, it says here, hey SSM, I need some advice badly. Should I stay or should I leave? Leave. Here's my dilemma. First, let me say that my wife has been a complete joy to be with. Beautiful and sexy, even through middle age. No problem in the bedroom. She's a great mom and is very caring and very genuine with me and the kids, family, and friends. She spends time with me, including date nights and vacations. Has rarely turned me down. We've been happily married for 32 years. We're known to our friends as the perfect couple. Yeah, well, it's been my life experience, and I know I'm a cynical mother effer, that those so-called perfect couples ain't so perfect. It's breaking my heart to discover that she's the greatest actress since Sarah Bernhardt. Now on to my story. A week ago, my cousin, we will call him Scott, was admitted to the hospital suffering horrible pains. They ran tests and found out that he has sepsis, infection throughout his body. He was coma-induced and treated for the infection. He was out for 4 days, and I told my wife about it, and her being a nurse explained to me that Scott could succumb to this and die. She told me I should prepare for the outcome and the worst. She was visibly shaken because she knew how close we were. We worked together, played sports, etc. His wife's a nurse. Bro, I'm not laughing at you. It's just that, how frequent is this? Nurses and teachers. How many times do you hear these stories? They come up every day about some young teacher that was doing their students. Minors. And of course the stories of the nurses. I kept in touch with his mom each day, the news being no better. Finally, on the 5th day, she called me to say that his signs were better and they were bringing him out of the coma. I was relieved and informed my wife. The next day he called me to say he felt he was given a new lease on life. He said he was going to right all the wrongs he had done in his lifetime. All the wrongs, huh? This guy's thinking, what wrongs? Well, he said no more drinking or gambling, no bad food or sugar drinks, and I told him that was great. I prayed that he would keep his word. Well, on the 7th day following his diagnosis, things were getting better. He was still unable to walk without the help of a walker came, but at least he was home. I told my wife I was going to go visit him. When I got to his house, he was generally glad to see me. His girlfriend had ushered me to their bedroom, where I found him resting. We talked about his vow to do better, to not waste his second chance. A lot of these people that come close to dying, yeah, they really want to make a big change. Some keep it, some don't. Then he became somber. He looked down and asked his girlfriend to come back into the room. She asked him what was wrong. Was he okay? He looked like he needed a return trip to the hospital. He said that he hoped that what he was about to say didn't change the fact that he appreciated everything I've ever helped him with in his life. Man, this guy telling the story is probably like, what the fuck are you talking about? He thanked me for everything I did for him, the money I lent him, the advice and support, and especially the time we lived together while he was working his way through college. I told him that family is the most valuable thing in the world, that if I'm able to, no family member would suffer, and I could help them. He then looked at his girlfriend and then at me. I never thought that I could bring myself to tell you this, he said, and he was starting to cry. Still hoarse from the tube that was down his throat at the hospital, he said, "Remember when I lived with you?" I said, "Yes, it was 32 years ago. What about it?" He started sobbing more, and he told me that my girlfriend at the time, now my wife, and him were physically involved from the time he moved in until he moved out a year later. What a piece of shit. Remember in the beginning of the story, guys, he said how great his 32 years of marriage was, how amazing she is, great mom, great wife, all these things, the perfect couple. I'm sorry, man. Well, the world stopped for a moment. I had a problem processing what I just heard. His girlfriend asked him if it was true, and he said it was. I didn't know what to say. His girlfriend stood up and smacked him across the face as hard as she could. He's out of the hospital. She doesn't care. She looked at me and said, "I heard him." She looked at me as if to say, "I heard him if you didn't." My mind went back 30-some years ago, trying to imagine how it could have happened. He was talking, but I couldn't hear him. Something about needing my forgiveness. Oh, he's going to need a lot of forgiveness. He's going to need freaking protection because you're going to whoop his ass. Once this guy's healed, now it's time to whoop his ass and put him back in the hospital. You know, his wife's a scumbag. This cousin's a scumbag. But at the end of the day, this guy's been his bro, his buddy, so he's worse than the wife. Well, we can debate that because he's been married to her 30 years, mother of his kids. So immediately, think about what's going on in this guy's head, guys. I'm going to pause here. The wife kept it a secret all this time. She married him knowing she was doing the cousin for a year. Did it stop after he moved out? Are his kids his kids? And on and on and on. And even if she stopped with this guy, who else? And by the way, given the fact that she's a nurse, there's a certain stereotype involved, pretty warranted stereotype, about this type of behavior. This poor bastard. Well, it's over. There ain't no going back. I left without a word. I got in my car and started driving. I didn't know where I was going. My thoughts were from offing myself to plotting someone else's demise. Bro, no, I get it, where you're coming from, but, well, okay, I don't get it. I know what it's like to feel that way, but I can have empathy. Don't end yourself because of some other asshole. I realized that my whole marriage was a complete sham. I needed paternity tests, lawyers, doctors, therapists. I'm 65 years old. Okay, my bad, he's 65. And I have to start over at the end of my life. I'm sorry, man. But you know what? You can't be with her. How do I handle things with my wife and kids? Not to mention my cousin, who I'll spend the rest of my life trying to destroy. He wants forgiveness, but will never get it. My wife always said cheating was a deal breaker. Yes, it is. Your wife said cheating's a deal breaker? Really? Those were her fucking words? Obviously, she's a lot younger than you because she said she's still technically in middle age. 60s ain't middle age. I immediately called the bank, and I got things rolling to move the joint account into a separate account. I need to secure a war chest. You're going to need a war chest after being married 32 years. I went home where I could be with my thoughts. My kids are out of state. They're in school, though. No need to alarm them if they were, in fact, my kids. Well, I stayed out late that night when my wife realized I had not returned. She started calling and texting me, and I turned off my phone. Oh, now she's panicking. I knew her next move would be to call Scott to check in on me. If he told her about his confession, she'd know before I got home. I guarantee you this dude is going to tell her. I let her stew until after midnight. When I got to the house, I saw my sister-in-law's car in the driveway, her support system in place. I steel myself, called up all my courage, and entered the house. What I saw was my wife sitting on the couch, suitcase next to her on the floor. She knows she's done. My in-laws throughout the years have criticized my behavior in certain areas because they thought my humor was crude or inappropriate. How funny is that? Wonder what they'd all think of their daughter's behavior. Well, your in-laws, If you're in your mid-60s, and I'm guessing she's still in her 50s based on what you described to her, they're probably in their at least 80s at this point. Hell, if they even know what's going on. When I entered the house, my sister-in-law started to say something, but I told her to shut up. To be like, bitch, get the fuck out. My wife was crying uncontrollably. Shocker. She's trying to soften you. I shook my head and I said nothing. She asked if I wanted to hear her explanation. What can she possibly say to explain the fact that she was cheating on him for a year when he proposed to her, married him, never told him after all these years, and Lord knows what else is going on? Yeah, I can only imagine the explanation. I said she could explain, but it would be more like a confession. But I already heard one today, and I'm turning in my priest card. Her sister asked me to please hear her out. I'd be like, sister-in-law, take your shit and get out of here. Or go wait in the car because my wife's about to join you. Hear her out. I figured I'd let her have her say before I end it all. She said she knew one day I had to know, but she didn't think I'd find out like this. Knew one day? You've been married 32 years. What is she waiting for? The reality is she never told this guy because she knew that he no doubt would not have married her. And the question is, why didn't she go with the cousin? Well, probably because the cousin wasn't marriage material. I'm sorry to say. I stared at her waiting for her explanation, my disgust for this woman growing by the very second. She said the attraction between them was almost immediate. They were like two magnets drawn together. This is what she's choosing to fucking say to you? The first time was when I was at work. It was quick and heated. They felt it was wrong but couldn't stop. When it was over, strangely, she felt no remorse. After that, it was whenever they could pull it off, always at my house. This is her explanation, or is she just trying to be truthful about what happened? Well, what caused it to stop? Obviously, when he moved out. When he moved out, the emotional support along with the physical release was hard to duplicate. They actually tried, but it proved too difficult because he moved much further away. So she decided it was time for her to focus on me and a better life that I could provide. What'd I say? She chose you because she knew that the other guy, he wasn't going to be the stable guy. Now she had her fun. Now she wants to. I'm sorry to say this, man, but this is how they operate. Here we go with the sirens. What was worse, I still hung out with Scott, and he was as close as always. Nothing changed for us for the 30-plus years. He's as good an actor as she is. Man, this guy, once he heals up, he deserves an ass whooping. Absolutely. 30 years this bastard freaking pretend to be your buddy. And how are we to believe that it stopped after that? Really? Because obviously, come on here. She was going to see him from time to time. You can't tell me. Or there's been somebody else. This hit harder than anything I could imagine. I was her sure thing. The funny part is that she was extremely sexually active with me at the time. Now I know it was because she didn't want me to be suspicious. That was a lot of fucking she was doing for a solid year. Yep, the love bombing to throw you off the trail. Not to mention she was a nurse. Upon hearing this, I retched and threw up on the living room floor. I bet. Should have barfed on her. That would have been funny. All those years wasted. I asked her, how could she be so cold and cruel all these years? She said she put it out of her mind and acted like it never happened. Yeah, that's exactly what she did. She buried it down deep. We weren't married. It would kill me if I found out that she did things with him that she didn't do with me. I can remember me having you-know-what with her while Scott was in his room, and believe me, she ain't quiet. Was that getting them off? I'm about to puke again thinking about this. Well, we're still in the house. I honestly don't know what to do. Brother, you know what to do. You know what to do. On the one hand, it happened before we were married. Doesn't matter. On the other hand, we were in a committed relationship. I know this woman is not the one I married. Not the one I fell in love with. She's been a liar for years. I miss who I thought she was. But I hate who she is. What do? I haven't consulted a lawyer as of yet, but I will. I respect your opinion and your viewers. Stay or end it. If you air this, I'll consider all advice. End it. Holy crap, end it. You have every right to. But the problem is, you're going to be out to be the bad guy. Let's put this in perspective here. 30 fucking years ago, she was hooking up with your cousin. for a year and never told you, and ended it, seems like, only because he left and you were a sure thing. Then you proposed. Did she say anything to you? No. Why? Because she probably knew that you would end it with her. So she accepted your proposal, got married to you, and kept it quiet all these years. I've been doing this too long, lived too long to think that that ever stopped. But she knowingly did this. And your scumbag cousin, but that's another conversation. Obviously, you're done with him for life. Fuck him. But he still deserves an ass whooping. Okay, maybe she's been great to you ever since. And a great mom and all that. But still, regardless, doesn't matter. You can't trust her. And your whole marriage is built on a lie. And I'm going to address the thing that we were all the elephant in the room. How do you know, and I'm sorry to say this, that your children are yours? All of them, some of them, whatever. Because I have a hard time believing that her behavior stopped. She's an awful person. And the thing is, the worst part about this whole thing is that everybody, if you ended this with her, and it sounds like you are, but you're still, it's a roller coaster of emotions, everybody's going to blame you. They're going to say, it happened 30 years ago. She was a great wife. She was a great mom, blah, blah, blah. And they'll say you're the bad guy, even though she's the bad guy. Hell, even some of your kids might buy into her waterworks if they're your kids. So you got a lot of soul searching to do, but in my opinion, you can't stay with her. Even after everybody tells you, and you're gonna, the majority of people, I guarantee you, friends, family, your kids are going to say, she's so sorry. It was 30 years ago, blah, blah, blah. Forgive her. Be the bigger person. You're going to be miserable. I've covered too many stories about this where guys forgave the crying wife because of the kids or the tears or the whatever, and they were miserable. They felt just so sickened after they gave the crying wife a second chance. They didn't want to go through the misery of divorce. They felt they were too old to start over. You know, you're 65. Okay, you're no spring chicken. I'm being honest here, but you're not dead either. And you can part ways. And guess what? Here's the worst part. You ended with her. Yeah, you're going to take a hit. I mean, I don't know what kind of state you're in and all that. I don't know if you have a prenup, a good one. I'm guessing not. Yeah, you're going to take a hit. But in my opinion, better to take the hit and start over. I mean, I'm going to assume you have money. And the kids are obviously adults, so there's no custody issues. There's no child support, that type of shit. Because they're obviously all out of school, out of the house, out of state in school. They're obviously different ages. You have to deal with that. But a man can survive. A man can really rebound and not live a whole lot. Need a whole lot to live and be happy. It's the wives and the women that want the giant houses and want all the private schools for the kids and the expensive cars and the country club membership if you're in that demographic. All these things. A guy doesn't need a whole lot to be happy and better be on your own. And you may think, holy, and yeah, you think your whole life's turned upside down. You won't have her, the cousin who was your best friend, but you won't believe how resilient guys are. How do I know? Because I've covered countless stories of resilient guys. I've known resilient guys that have gone through a divorce and late in life, you know? But just, you're never going to trust her again. You're always going to imagine those things. But at the end of the day, it's your choice. And I do think you're leaning towards that, but it's just a big fucking mess. I'd go to a lawyer tomorrow, find out all your options, and take it one day at a time, and then figure out the master plan and get going. But I also make sure you control the narrative. You cannot let her control the narrative. Otherwise, it's going to be way, way worse. And it's going to be a major, major process, but you will be able to get through it. And I think if you stay with her, it's just going to be miserable. You're never going to get past this. You're always going to be thinking about this, you know. And I just don't buy that ever since then, everything's been perfect, an amazing wife and everything. And if she's been a great wife to you this whole time, wonderful. And if nothing ever happened beyond that, wonderful, although I doubt it. But still, I don't ever see you getting over this. I've just covered too many of these stories, known too many people in situations like this, in varying degrees, of course, and it doesn't change. But let me tell you, man, you're going to get the waterworks supreme. I'm telling you now, everybody's going to come after you and give you the hardest time for ending it with her. Everybody. And be prepared for that. But I guarantee you, on this channel, people are going to be on your side. They're going to, you know, some people are going to say, do you really want to throw it all away? 30 years, maybe she's really sorry. But the majority is going to say what I'm saying here, no, you can't do that. And it's going to be hard because your whole life has been with her. Totally understandable, it's going to be hard. And the separation and all that and everything, you know, because, you know, I mean, you've been living a lie, you know, and it's heartbreaking. And I can understand how you just don't want to go on anymore, but you have to. You have to go on for the good things in your life because your kids and everything else that you get pleasure out of and you're happy with in life. And you will find a way to move on. But if you're with her, I just don't ever see getting past this. And I think if you stay with her, I think eventually you'll end up parting ways anyway. It's just, it's such a sad story. And I'm sorry it happened to you, man. I really am. But that's what I think. You wrote in asking my opinion. That's what I think. And so, guys, please take a moment of your time and let this guy know what you think. I'm pretty sure I know what you're all going to say in varying degrees, but say it anyway. He needs to hear it. And hopefully we can get him through this. So, bro, good luck to you. Take it one day at a time. Again, contact your lawyer. Find out all your options. Be prepared to take a hit. Be prepared to get pushed back big time from everybody in your life. And let me know down the road, if you want to, where things stand, how things are going, all that. It ain't going to be easy, and you didn't do anything wrong. That's the worst part. You didn't do anything wrong. Thought you did everything right, and look at all this. So that's what I think. All right, guys, that's it for today. Sure to comment down below. Let me know what you think about this. And, guys, you got a good story to share, send it my way. strongsuccessfulmale@gmail.com. And if it's a good one, I'll definitely cover it. And be sure to like the video, share with your friends, and subscribe. I'll catch you next time.